In Rise of Kingdoms, the lifeblood of pretty much any account is your action points. Action points are probably the most valuable currency in the game, second to maybe only gems. So today, I'll be doing a full action point guide. I'll tell you how to get a bunch of action points, a few ways to get a few more action points so you have a bit of an advantage over other players, and I'll also teach you how to use your action points in the most efficient way possible. So if you want to improve your action point efficiency or just get a couple thousand extra every now and again to beat your enemies, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now let's start off today's video by going over some of the ways to earn action points in Rise of Kingdoms, and I'll start off with the most obvious and work my way down to some of the more obscure ones. The first one, and I think this is probably the most well known, is through rallying or joining barbarian fort rallies. Whenever you rally a barbarian fort in Rise of Kingdoms, you have a chance to earn 50 or 100 action points in the form of a bottle. So as you can see here, I've got a bunch of 50 and 100 action point bottles. They're pretty much all from rallying. Some of these hundreds are from another spot, which I'll talk about later, but it is pretty easy to get action points through that. Pretty much it allows you to convert your main action points here, the ones that will replenish slowly over time, into their own permanent source of action points, which you can take into a KVK or use in events where it's going to be more important. That's why whenever you're in the off season, if you want to earn the most amount of action points, and I'm sure most people do this, you want to join as many barbarian fort rallies as possible. Not to mention, you also get probably the most rewards out of doing barb forts, so quite frankly, it is just worth doing them, even if you don't care too much about the action points. Another way to get them, of course, is through the barbarian fort rallies when you're in an alliance. Every single week, I think you can earn 50 action point bottles from these fort barbarian chests. As you can see, I've already gotten my 50, so none of them showed up here. But that is another way to get action points. All you need to do for that is be in an alliance that is doing barbarian fort rallies, and each one of these will have a chance of giving you a few AP. Usually it's like 150 action point bottle, something along that. If we scroll really far down, as you can see here, I have got a couple action points here from the barbarian chest. So just being in an alliance that's doing rallies or doing the rallies yourself will give you these action points, and it is definitely really, really nice. This is probably one of the main ways as well to earn a relatively steady supply of action points on top of the other methods which I will talk about today. But this is definitely the best thing to do in the off season whenever you're looking to stash up some AP for something such as your KVK. Another method of getting action points I see some people miss is the daily action point recovery. This is probably another really well-known one. I'm pretty sure I know most OGs would definitely know this, but if you're newer to the game, every single day you get 500 extra action points that you can use at any point. So these can't go above your maximum. Unlike normal action points, if I use 1,000 here, you can see I've gone above my maximum AP number. This 500 can't go above your maximum AP. So you have to have it used up at least 500 action points for this to be worth using. That being said, it comes around every single day. It is completely free, and you can use it as long as you've used around 500 action points. So making sure that you are claiming this every single day is really important. And note, it is completely free. It doesn't eat into your normal 500 AP bottles, and it is just a little extra bonus that sometimes people take a few months to notice until they fully read it and are like, oh wait, this is literally free. So keep that in mind. Free action points, you get them every single day, pretty much 500 extra, which is nice. Do an extra 3 barbarian forts, use them to do your travels or dispatches. These are really nice action points, and I try to use them every single day. Another fairly well-known form of action points is through the VIP shop. I think once you get like VIP 3, you can buy 30 100 AP bottles per week for around, I think it's 450,000 total food. Really, really worth it. Those action points will earn you more resources if you literally just pop them the same day. But that being said, it is also just good to stash them for a KVK or any important event. So buying those action points in the VIP shop is another amazing way to do it. Literally, I mean, not literally free, but pretty much a free method of accessing AP that anyone can do literally right now. So make sure you always check that VIP shop once a week, buy those action points, and then buy the speed ups and materials just as a little bonus. They are good value, but those AP bottles are probably the most important, and that is why you'll notice I have a ridiculous amount of 100 AP bottles. They're somewhat from Barbarian Foot Rallies, but they're also mainly from that VIP shop over the course of a couple of years, because I haven't spent many action points in a very long time. The next methods I will talk about are a little bit more seasonal or have some form of a weight attached to them. So these methods may not be available to you at all times, but they're big enough for me to mention them at least. The first one that is quite important is your Osiris League shop. Every now and again, probably about once a year, the Osiris League will come around, and one of the things you can purchase in there is you have the ability to purchase 1000 action point bottles. These forms here, and I think you can buy 10 or you can buy 20 of them. I don't know off the top of my head, but it is a really, really cheap and easy way to get a bunch of action points that you can just save. If you get 10, you get like 10,000 action points you can use at any time whenever you want them. So getting these action points is a really, really good idea during the Osiris League. It's more valuable than the gold heads in my opinion, especially since they're extremely cheap and they're really, really easy to get. So next time Osiris League comes around, check that shop. You'll notice they're cheap. They're used in the normal default currency, and just by doing the normal daily quests, you'll easily be able to buy all of these action point bottles and still be able to afford all the gold heads. So they're easily the second, if not the best value available in that event, and that's why I have so many of them. Most of those actually come from previous years of Osiris League, because once again, whenever I have spent AP, I've never gotten to my 1000 bottles. I've only ever gotten up to my 500. So the 1000s, quite rare to get, but you get a bunch of them in Osiris League, and that is a really, really nice way to do it. Another thing that also comes around every now and again is Champions of Olympia. Personally, I hate the event and I don't really play it, but if you do, you can purchase some of these, I think in the shop, or maybe the shop is removed now, but they do come in the rewards at some point. There's a few action points in there. It's not that many, but they are available and they are worth it unless it's been removed, but to my knowledge, it's still in there. I can't check right now because Olympia is not here, but the ability to buy a few more action points there is another way to get them, and again, they're not really that bad value. Another consistent way to access action points is through KVK, more specifically through building your Ruined Crusader Fortress. While you are building this building, and you're repairing it, there is an event that will come around which is pretty much involved with killing barbarians and killing barbarian forts, and the more of the points that you earn for this event, the more chests you have the ability to open. Now, these chests each have a chance of giving you action points, and it's a pretty substantial amount. You can get 500 bottles, you can get 100 bottles, and you can also get 1000 bottles from the event, even though those are a little bit more rare. But the second stage of the Crusader Fortress, when you are rebuilding it, is really, really easy to get a bunch of action point bottles, especially if you are AoE barb farming, which we'll talk about later, or grinding it out really, really hard. So this is a good way to get either returned action points for killing barbarians, or earn a few more action points for your account. It's definitely a substantial amount. It's worthy of talking about, and it will come around once per KVK, pretty much guaranteed, as long as you can capture your Ruined Crusader Fortress. So this is another really, really good way just to get a bunch of action points for your account and set you up for either saving up for an event or just killing a few extra barbarians during that KVK for pretty much free. The last main method and consistent method of getting action points that is, well, consistent enough for me to mention, and this one does cost money, is through the daily special offer. You have the ability to get action points on one of these chests here. I think it is, yes, it's this end chest. The Treasure of the King gives you 100 bottles per day, which is not bad value considering you're also getting the treasure chest. So if you're buying this for a commander, maybe it's the new Joan Prime who's just come in here, or maybe it's one of the other commanders in here. I mean, it's just a little bonus. I thought I'd mention it. If you need to get 600 gems, this is probably a pretty good way to do it because you also do get some action points. I don't think there's any other bundles which give you action points. It's mainly just this one, but that is just a little nice bonus to chuck in there. Maybe you have a few of those little coins that I have as well. You can use them in here. I don't have enough coins right now, but if you do have enough coins, you can use the coins from the store being the Lilith online store. You earn these coins whenever you buy stuff, flux coins. You can use those on that bundle, and you can probably just get a few action points if you did want, because I often don't have too many of those coins. Sometimes I'll buy like a small thing with them, and this is usually a choice of mine just to get the AP out of it, which I'll end up using to kill barbarians, among the other stuff like speed ups, a little bit of a treasure chest, and of course the gems and VIP. So now that we've gone over the main ways to earn action points, let's talk about maintaining and also preserving your action points. The first thing I recommend doing whenever you do have the option is picking up an action point rune. This is not really a way to earn more action points. I mean, it technically is, but really what it does is it just allows you to get slightly more action points every hour or so. It's usually up to a 15% increase, and any guardian can drop them. We currently don't have one down at the moment. I could probably go and kill these guardians, but I don't really want to. I'm not sure what our Guardian schedule is, but these Guardians can drop you a rune for your action points, and I think it's called like the Rune of Slither or something. It's a really good rune to just go and pick up. It's going to give you good AP. It's definitely worth it. And it's a good way just to get a little bit more value for your action points. Also, considering these guards are completely free to kill and they're not really a big issue. So you do get a rune out of these. I would pick it up whenever you see one, and then it just gives you a few more action points over time. Other than that, when it comes to maintaining action points, the real thing you can do is use them efficiently and use them in a smart way. There's a few things we should consider when it comes to cracking your action point bottles. These bottles shouldn't really be used on a normal occasion. If you're in your off season, if you're just chilling, if you're not really grinding barbarians super hard for an event or something, I wouldn't be using action point bottles. I wouldn't use them to kill barbarian forts. I wouldn't use them to kill normal barbarians. I just mainly focus on using my free action points for that. So these will regenerate slowly. Just use those to kill barbarians and barbarian forts in most situations. These action point bottles should be reserved for when there's a special event or when there is some reason to use them. So for example, if you have just entered KVK, then it may be a good time to use those action point bottles to give yourself a little bit of a boost in your crystal tech. If you are looking for a boost in crystal tech, action point bottles are one of the best ways to do that because you can get a few million crystals extra on the first day if you grind your heart out and have no life, since you can kill a bunch of barbarians, and those million crystals or so could be used to get more crystals from stuff such as Bastion quests, more crystals from future barbarians, more crystals from the Kalkarak. All of that is available through spending initial crystals. So as an initial investment in a KVK, action points can be a really, really good option, and that can give you a lot of value with them. Other forms could be when you're building the Ruined Crusader Fortress to earn back more action points. Pretty much you're killing barbarians for cheaper. That is another time where I would say using AP is fairly good. So in those situations, it is definitely a good idea to use some of your action points in those situations. Another time where I would say it's worth using action point bottles, if you're doing something such as the Marauders in your pre-KVK event, that is another good time to use them. That's probably the last time I did a big action point spend. I like doing Marauders. They're really good for speed ups, they're really good for resources, and they also give you good pre-KVK points. So Marauders are a good time to spend some of your AP. I usually like to put down a score of like 7 million, which is about 100 chests, and that's probably around 50 or 60,000 action points. So that's a decent value to use them on, especially if you're low on speed ups, which my account tends to be low. This KVK, I'm not going to be very low on speed ups, so I'll probably just kill normal KVK barbarians. But that being said, if you are down bad on speed ups and you need them for your KVK, going all in on Marauders is not a bad idea, and it is going to be fairly valuable for your account. So keep that in mind. Marauders are a very good way to spend AP. I wouldn't hold back on them if you need speed ups, but they're not the best way if you're looking for crystals. Crystals are available through the KVK barbarians a little bit more. The final method where I would say it's worth spending action points, and this is the lowest on the list really, is just if you are looking to do well in a certain event, whether it be something such as the Mightiest Governor or the supply event, wherever it is. It's not coming around anytime soon, but there's an event where you kill barbarians, you get supply chests, and then you can earn a bunch of sculptures for your gathering commanders. Those events can be fairly valuable if that's something you need. If not, I just wouldn't do those events because it wouldn't make sense. But that being said, doing those events when they come around can be valuable to you if you need to win a Mightiest Governor or you've got a set Mightiest Governor and you need the points for it. Using some of those points or using some of those action points to win that Mightiest Governor can be relatively worth it and is not a bad idea. So using action points in those situations is good and it will put you in a fairly decent position. But it's probably not the best idea if you're not going to win a Mightiest Governor, if you don't need the points. So mainly focus on events that are going to be worth it to you, and if you spend action point bottles, you have to go all out to win. I wouldn't spend action point bottles just to get like rank 5 or something. I'd only spend them to win that event, and that is it. In terms of getting higher value for action points, one thing we always mention is AoE barb farming. I've mentioned it so many times, I think I sound like a broken record now, but AoE barb farming is just using a commander with area of effect damage to chain on a couple of barbarians and get them pretty much for free. So if I were to demonstrate here, it's really, really simple. If you attack a barbarian with a commander that has area of effect damage, like my YSG here, and you hit another barbarian while you're fighting this main one, you have the ability to pretty much kill this barbarian behind me for no action point cost. I can do it completely for free. It doesn't cost me anything, and that barbarian just aggroes onto me. You can do this with multiple barbarians. You might be able to get 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on how lucky you get. Keep in mind, you can't get too far away though. If you get too far from the first barbarian you attacked, it will make them all run away and you lose your action points. But that being said, as long as you don't attack this other barbarian, you will not lose any AP. But as you can see right now, if I were to attack this barbarian like that, I did lose some action points. So make sure you don't directly attack it. Let the barbarian attack you, and you will save your action points doing that. As you can see, your troops will automatically attack the other barbarian, and it won't cost you anything. So that is one of the best ways to get higher value for your action points. It preserves them more, because as you can see, you get to kill 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 barbarians for the price of 1, which is really, really good value. The only downside is it is very time consuming. Killing barbarians with AoE farming can take a very long time, and it might be a little bit resource costly. As you can see here, I got 117 sevs and 31 sevs. Usually, if you were to swarm down the barbarian, which I think I did recently, if we just took a look, you will get around 10 sev wounds. So it's definitely a little bit higher on sev wounds, but that being said, it's worth it because you will get more resources and you will get more speed ups and stuff for a much lower cost. So at that point, it is of course worth AoE barb farming, but those are really the only two downsides of it. The other time where I would just spend action points off-season on barbarian forts all the time. We've already discussed that. I'm not going to go over it again, but it is a really good value. And then another time you can spend AP is in things such as your dispatches and also your travels, because they are really, really good value since they can give you permanent open field increases and make your marches much stronger. So doing your travels with your action points is not bad value, it is good value, and I would try and do those every single day. Plus, it's an easy way to just log on and spend some action points if they are full. So I often do that if I'm at school and my AP have filled up. I'll just quickly log on, I'll just smash out a couple of these travels, and then I'll put my phone away and get back to learning. So it is definitely a good idea to do these whenever you get an opportunity, and then you can obviously use those action points in this situation and get a few extra stuff. Not to mention, it is sometimes a little bit higher value than barbarians when you get a permanent upgrade to your march. So that is another way to spend them that I would say is a high value method. And then of course, the last method, which I mentioned before, was just killing KVK barbarians at any time. Of course, KVK barbarians are really easy to kill at any time. They're pretty much all over the map, and they're just another good way to spend your action points to the point where I would say it is worth it. So spending AP and KVK is a good idea on barbarians. Forts are technically slightly higher value in crystals, like barely higher, but it's just so time consuming it's almost not worth it unless you have a lot of time to spare. At that point you could, but if you AoE barb farm, it is better value than barbarian forts, so do keep that in mind. Barb forts generally are higher value if you're not AoE farming. If you are AoE farming, I would just kill barbarians since they will give you more resources and more speed ups. Unless in your off season, I would mainly recommend killing barbarian forts just to get some action points to use in your main KVKs. So now that we've made it to the end of today's video, I just want to ask you guys for a small favor, and that is consider subscribing to the channel. It's a really, really easy way to support me. It's completely free and it is much appreciated. And if you end up absolutely hating my content, you can always unsubscribe later. So other than that, I just want to say I thank everybody for watching today, and I hope to see you in the next one.